Hello, everyone. Good day. Welcome to the Institute of Global Professionals. Thank you for joining us for another live session of free international webinar here in ICT. My lovely audience, I am Maribeth from the Philippines, and I am honored to be your host for the day. I hope that everyone will stay with us until the end of the program because we have a lot of things in store for you today. Here in IGP webinar, you do not just listen to our speakers, but we also encourage your participation through our quiz competition and the Q&A part of the program. In our quiz competition, the top 10 participants will receive their quiz completion certificate, that is, right after the event. And it will be followed by the Q&A part where everyone will have the opportunity to interact with our speaker by sending in your questions in the comment box. In the latter part of the program, we will give you the certification code and the process on how you can generate or download your e-certificate. With this, everybody is encouraged to stay with us until the end of the program because lots of exciting things awaits us today. I am sure all of us will have many e-takeaways and payoffs from this webinar, only from IGP. I'm proud to tell you that every day, many new participants are joining with us. So let me give you a little background about IGP. The Institute of Global Professionals is an educational institution which provides social work. We believe that it is not effective to increase one's skill by just acquiring formal education. So we provide training and consultation to generate a proficient generation through webinars, trainings, offline and online courses with best speakers and highly trained coaches from all over the world to cater you with the best learning platform. I am proud to inform you that IGP is an ISO certified training education institute. We are internationally recognized and globally accredited. IGP is your trusted platform to learn new things from the global leading leaders. We are the leading online skill development institution with thousands of learners worldwide. Our mission is to empower people and enhance their skills through webinars. We are committed to serve. We wish that you remain with us in this endeavor. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm proud to be associated with IGP as a global member. I would like to take this opportunity to welcome all of you to the Institute of Global Professionals Free International Webinar. Once again, I am Marbeth, a core volunteer of IGP from the Philippines. I am so privileged to host today's webinar. With this, I'd like to say let's watch together and learn together. We believe that the power is gained by sharing knowledge and not by hoarding it. Did you know that as of yesterday, we have already successfully completed 268 webinars in various topics of your interest? All of these are available in our website, that is www.eduigp.com. Feel free to access them anytime. We expect that all of you are getting a little bit benefited both in your personal and professional life. From time to time, you may like, share, tag your friends, and write your comments. You may also give some suggestions that will help us innovate the program. All of these are greatly appreciated. Your attachment encourages us to do better and give our best service. Without further ado, let's start the program with the IGP mantra: feed your skills. Innovate, inspire, impact. For today, we are presenting webinar number 269 on ICT in Social Studies Classroom. And today we have a brilliant speaker from the Philippines. Our speaker for today is a college instructor, licensed junior high school teacher, education program head, pre-service teacher supervisor, and college students government organization advisor. I would like to invite on screen our speaker for tonight, Sir Paul Martin de Vera. Let's welcome him with a virtual round of applause.
Thank you, Mary Beth. I appreciate the kind introduction. Am I audible? Can you hear me?
Yes, you are, sir.
All
Yes,
right,
loud and
thank you.
clear.
Thank you again.
Hello, sir. How are you doing?
Oh, I'm doing good, and I hope you're doing the same, Mary Beth.
Yes, we're all doing good here. And then, before proceeding on with your presentation, you probably want to add something else about yourself,
Sure,
if you
but
wish to.
no problem. But I'd like to greet first our participants. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. And I'd like to welcome you all for today's international webinar. And before anything else, I'd like to make a shout out first to all my colleagues from Tiwi Agro-Industrial School, most especially to our junior high school social studies subject coordinator, Mrs. Imelda C. Kappa, and also to my colleagues from Our Lady of Salvation College, especially to our college dean, Ms. Josefina Cerdeño, and Assistant Dean, Dr. Salvador Combo. So before we start, let me just introduce myself. So again, you can call me Paul or Sir Paul. Before teaching, I used to work at a software development company and a consulting company in Ortigas as a project manager. So we were specializing in educational technology and software and applications. If you're familiar with SPLAT or supporting parents, learners, and teachers, which is an educational application being rolled out to different DepEd or Department of Education schools in the Philippines, being piloted all at the same time. I was one of the project managers of Splat. So I'm very happy to talk to you and all of our participants about integrating or applying ICT in social studies. So again, Mama Maribeth, thank you so much for your very kind introduction.
Okay, welcome, sir.
Thank you. So all right. So before we start, dear participants, may I see your invitations? So let me show you what the invitation looks like, and I hope you have received something that looks like this. Let me share my screen with everyone. So let's see. I hope that you can see my presentation. All right. So have you received an invitation that looks like this? So ICT in the social studies classroom, dear social studies wizard and sorceress. So all right. So do you have this invitation? If not, that's fine. Of course, everyone's invited and everybody's welcome to join today's learning session. So as written, as you can see in your invitation, today we are going to talk about and learn how to apply ICT in various social studies lessons and activities in the classroom. So let me go to the next screen, or next slide. All right, so welcome wizards and sorcerers. So today you are not just participants, but wizards and sorcerers of social studies because I am expecting you to do wonders and magic in your classroom through the use of ICT at the end of this webinar. So let's go to the next slide. All right, so as you may have noticed, dear participants, I have used a very popular theme for my presentation, which is Harry Potter. So it's a very popular movie, novel, and character. And using popular themes, movies, or characters will instantly capture your viewers' attention and interest. So in education, we call it motivation. So it involves the processes that it energizes, it directs, and it sustains behavior and interest. Let's see. All right, so ICT is a great motivator and necessary facilitator in the teaching and learning of social studies. So keep in mind that ICT should never be the driver of your lesson, but only a tool to make your lessons more interesting and relevant for your learners or your students. So traditional teachers are, of course, are still necessary. So let's see here. So let's take a look at what ICT means. It refers to Information and Communications Technology. So that's what ICT stands for. And technologies that provide access to information and facilitate communications. So I'm really hoping that you will learn something from me when it comes to ICT because it's something that would really help your classrooms and your students as well. Let's see here. Okay, so under ICT, we have, of course, software applications. We have the World Wide Web or the internet. We also have multimedia and, of course, mobile phones. So these are just some of the examples of ICT. All right, now in education, so ICT, we use ICT for information and communications to, of course, it supports, it enhances, and optimizes the delivery of learning. So again, ICT is a tool. It shouldn't be the main driver of your lessons or your instruction. So ICT and education, you're very much familiar with these um, equipment or tools. We have laptops and tablets. And there we have projector, Google Classroom, of course, since we are now in the middle of pandemic, and of course, Microsoft 365, which houses Microsoft Excel, Word, PowerPoint, and all those Microsoft tools. Oops, let me go back. There, this is very important. This is very important that we talk about the common perceptions of students on social studies. So, of course, we um, often hear that social studies is irrelevant. So they don't see the practical use of social studies in their life. So that's what irrelevant means. And they also say that social studies is just long lectures and text readings. So I'm pretty sure that most of our social studies teacher can relate to this, and we hear this all the time, almost all the time. So long lectures, long text readings. So attending social studies classes are or it's almost like doing a chore. So it's something that that doesn't motivate them. But there are so many other ways, of course, to teach social studies, and we will explore some of them later on. And we also hear a lot of this memorizing names, dates, places. So it's true that social studies is, or it involves memorizing a lot of information, such as places, locations, and dates. However, the notion of just mindlessly memorizing all this information is the one that is false. So it's important for students to have a good overall big picture of whatever it is that they're trying to memorize for it to become relevant for them. So it is important that their lessons or whatever it is that they're memorizing is making sense for them. And of course, I I'm pretty sure that we always hear this from our students that social studies is a boring subject. We get this a lot, and let's face it, most social studies classes are not conducted in the most interesting way. So that's why we have to apply ICT because it can make our social studies classroom more fun and interesting. So there, ICT helps rebrand the social studies subject in a way that it will keep them excited, expand their knowledge, and make them understand its importance and use in the future. So, in other words, ICT can help us achieve the ultimate goal or purpose of social studies, which is so the primary purpose of social studies is to help young people develop the ability to make informed and reasoned decisions for the public good as citizens of a culturally diverse, democratic society in an interdependent world. So that is the primary purpose or goal of social studies. The lessons in social studies do not, um, if the lessons in social studies do not make sense for them, then how are we going to expect them to become good citizens in the future? So as teachers, we should look for ways on how to make social studies make sense for them. Okay, next slide. Okay, so we are going to talk about the factors to consider when planning to use ICT in your classroom. Okay. All right, so the first factor is student achievement goals. So your lesson plan is fundamental to the selection of classroom ICT. So your ICT tools will depend on your goals or objectives that are on your lesson plan, also available equipment or technology, and other things. That is why lesson planning is very important. All right, so second one is budget considerations. So we have to consider your funding, sources, and their availability. So some ICT tools, I understand, can be very expensive. That is why I always say that the best technology is the one that's already available and the one that you already know how to use. However, it doesn't hurt to try to explore new ICT tools and strategies every now and then, and as long as it doesn't, of course, hurt our own pockets, right? So the third one there. Another factor is equitable access. So it simply means that all students, staff, leaders must have robust and reliable access to current and emerging technologies and digital resources. So that's what equitable access means. So in other words, for example, if grade 10 Einstein, for example, can use tablets as supplements for their learning, we have to make sure that the tablets are also available and can be used by grade 10 Dalton, grade 10 Newton, and et cetera, et cetera. So that's equitable access. All right, the fourth one is classroom conditions. So we have to consider the ICT capacity and readiness of our classroom. So now that we are slowly opening our classrooms for face-to-face education, we have to make sure that the cables are properly arranged if we have computers in our classrooms so that the students won't trip. Or we also have to check the location and the condition of electrical outlets. So things like that. So that's what the number four factor means. Classroom conditions. Is it ready for the ICT equipment or tools that you're going to use? And number five, of course, is sustainability. So for sustainability, we have to answer or ask these questions. So is the ICT tool easy to use? Is it easy to integrate or apply? Does it need minimal training and support? Does it stand the test of time? So these are the questions that we should ask, and that's what we call sustainability. All right. So the fun part, how do we use ICT in the social studies classroom? Okay, there's Harry Potter. So it's going to be divided into two parts. So the first one is according to theme, and under theme would be visual tours, primary sources, student engagement, students' personal development, and communication. And the second part would be according to activity type. So I have identified three types. So we have knowledge building activities, convergent knowledge expression activities, which when we see convergent knowledge expression activities, these are activities that enhance the student's ability to give correct or well established answers to single standard questions or problems that do not really require creativity. And when we say divergent knowledge expression, these are activities that require lots of creativity and outside the box thinking. So that's the difference between convergent knowledge and divergent knowledge expression. Okay, so the first part again is according to theme there. So let's see. So the first one that we have identified, of course, is virtual tours, or we also call it virtual field trips. So when we say virtual tours or virtual field trips, these are simulations of an existing location, usually composed of a sequence of videos or still images, meaning it's not moving. It may also use other multimedia elements such as sound effects, music, narration, and text. All right, to participate in virtual tours, teachers and their students need internet access and a way to project an image on the whiteboard or through a television if a projector is if a projector or a whiteboard are not available, we can use a television to project an image coming from a laptop or a cell phone or a mobile phone. So currently, there are more or less 2,500 museums in the world that we can visit virtually. And these are the Louvre, which is one of the world's largest art museums located in Paris or in Paris. And we also have the National Gallery of Art in Washington, D.C., the British Museum in London, of course, NASA or the National Aeronautics and Space Administration, the Vatican, of course, the Vatican Museums, the National Museum of the U.S. Air Force, which is the official museum of the United States Air Force, of course, and the Google Art Project. What's interesting about the Google Art Project is that it's actually a platform where we can see priceless pieces of arts and imported artworks from the White House or the Museum of Islamic Art in Qatar, um, artworks from Brazil and other parts of the world. And that's in high definition and in perfect or exquisite detail. So that's what I like about the Google Art Project. Now, of course, we also have virtual tours or field trips available in the Philippines. And we have the National Museum of Fine Arts here, and then the National Museum of Natural History, UNESCO World Heritage, Intramuros, Pamintuan Mansion, Baler Church and Museum, Cabral Lighthouse, and others. So, Let's take a look at, let me show you an example of a virtual tour if my internet connection permits me. So I hope I can show you. Let's see. Oops. So here. So right now, let's go to the National Museum of Fine Arts building facade. Okay. So instead of giving handouts or asking your students to read a text about National Museum of Fine Arts, why not bring them here or in the actual location of the National Museum of Fine Arts in the Philippines? So let's go to the entrance. So there. So just imagine what would be the reactions of your students when they see this, or when this image or virtual tour will be projected on a whiteboard or on a television. So it's like they're in the actual building. So it's the Espolarium Hall. Let's see. So it's a 360-degree view of the actual place there. And then you can, what's it? Okay. And then you can explore there. Let's see. Let's go to other rooms. Let's explore the rooms in the National Museum of Fine Arts. So let's go to the old Senate Session Hall. There. So this is the old Senate Session Hall. So yes, this can be boring if the students are just going to read a text about the National Museum of Fine Arts. But if you're going to show them and bring them the experience in the classroom of, just of being in the actual museum, then they would be, of course, interested. They would ask more questions about it. They will really be engaged, and they will listen to whatever it is that you will be discussing. So let's see if this will pop out. No, it's not. It's not working. So let's explore other parts of the National Museum of Fine Arts. So here, we're now at the BSP Sacred Art in the Del Rosario Family Hall. So let's take a look at the paintings here. So say, for example, you haven't prepared anything, or say um, something to say about the art pieces here, just click on the object info, and there you go. You'll be able to discuss that specific painting and just read the text, so that the students will be able to know what the painting is all about. And then when you're done, just click the pop-up window, and then you can proceed to other artworks. So that's the beauty of virtual tours. So let me go back to my presentation. So let's see, we're done with that. All right, so the second one under theme is primary sources. So we can use ICT when it comes to primary sources. So primary sources, they are primarily used in teaching history and geography. And discussion of primary sources and their implications for teaching social studies demonstrates the need for students to use their imaginations and think creatively. So while waiting for the other slide. So when we say primary sources, these are original materials, regardless of format. This could be letters, diaries, minutes, photographs, pictures, artifacts, interviews, sound or video recordings. So these are all primary sources. And digital primary sources not only offer an opportunity for instruction to be individualized, as each student can study different original resources, but the internet literally opens up the world with vast amounts of information that students can access from their own computer. So they have a sense of being independent in exploring different types of digital primary sources. Let's see here. Okay. So the internet has the potential to be an excellent learning tool, which is true, as it can foster perspective taking by allowing students to search for and instantly examine viewpoints and ideas of other people's culture that would otherwise be unattainable. So that's the beauty of the internet because it houses all the tools that we can use in in our instruction, and it lets us explore other cultures as well. So that's the beauty of the internet. And when it comes to primary sources, these are the go-to links or websites. For example, we have the David Ramsey Historical Map Collection. If you're looking for primary sources about historical maps, and what's good about this is that it has a search and viewing capabilities. And we also have History Matters, designed for high school and college teachers and students of US history. We also have information and primary sources for US and world history topics through the History Reference Center. And what I really like, and my favorite, is the Smithsonian Learning Lab, which is a free interactive platform that puts the treasures of the world's largest museum, education, and research complex within reach. Okay, let's see. Now, in the Philippines, of course, we also have the National Library of the Philippines. We also have the Philippine History Sourcebook and Philippine e-journals. Now, I'm going to show you the Philippine History Sourcebook, which is a digital or ebook, annotated compilation of selected Philippine history primary sources and secondary works to supplement the remote learning modality amid the COVID-19 pandemic. And this was launched by the National Commission for Culture and the Arts and the National Committee on Historical Research. So allow me to show you the Philippine History Sourcebook. So this is the Philippine History Sourcebook, which is free to download. There, you just have to answer a survey, and then after the survey, it's going to give you a link to download this amazing primary source ebook. So it houses, let's explore. So it has different topics beginning from the pre-colonial Philippines and then up to American period. We have the World War II, post-war Philippines, 1972 to 1986, 1986 to present. It even has the inaugural address of our current president, President Duterte, and there. So it's around 650 pages that contains all of the information that we need about Philippine history. So there. So let's go back to my presentation. So I think we're done with that. Let's read over that slide. Okay, there. All right, so the third theme is, of course, student engagement. So, of course, we can use ICT tool in engaging our students. So we can use technology in our social studies classroom to try to captivate students' attention and increase, of course, student engagement. All right, so under that, we have hardware and software. So to compare and contrast, I've created a table. So let's see, under hardware, we have, of course, mobile devices. These are physical items, tangible items, computers, smart boards, and overhead projectors. So these are some of the tools that we can use for student engagement. Now, for software, um, I've divided this into two. So I have software that requires no internet connectivity, and of course, those that require um, internet connectivity. So those that do not require internet connectivity, we have Microsoft Word, PowerPoint, and of course Excel. And of course, we also have web-based applications like Google Suite, Quizlet, Kahoot, Edmodo, Email, YouTube, CNN Student News, and digital textbooks. So some of these we are already familiar with. So again, for student engagement, we can use hardware, of course, and or software because we can use the two simultaneously. Let's see. So personal development. So that's the fourth theme where we can apply ICT. So personal development. We can use technology, or using technology helps learners develop personally as well as academically, and it brings children out of their shell. That's correct. And it is like doing our part in preparing them for their future, especially we are anticipating that in the near future, of course, they are going to have job interviews and office presentations, data presentations of, say, for example, comparing last month's sales to the current sales situation. So that's the use of ICT under personal development. Okay, so I have communication. So that's the last theme. So under communication, teachers can use ICT for direct and indirect communication. So let's have some examples. And I've chosen the not so familiar ones. So this is Edmodo. So we use this to keep in touch with the learners and their parents without giving them your phone number or any other personal information. So if you are someone or a teacher that's really conscious about, providing your phone number to the parents or to your students, then this is the perfect app for you. And what's good about this is that the parents can see how the teacher communicates with their children. Well, I'm not sure if that's a good part or a bad part, but of course, if we know that the parents can see what or how our communication with the students, with our learners go, then we will be very, very mindful of what we tell them or what we type or communicate with them. So that is Edmodo. And we also have Remind. So use Remind to remind students from the word itself. So what are we going to remind the students about? It can be about an upcoming tests, major assignments, or events, especially on the weekends, because our learners are busy during weekends. So they're probably out with their family or friends. So there, if you don't want them to miss any important announcement or information, you can use Remind to send a reminder blast to all your learners. And then we also have My Big Campus. which is a platform where you can put all of your content and notes for students, and they can access it at their convenience. And it also allows information to be stored in one place, creating an ease of accessing content for students. So that's the beauty of My Big Campus. So it's like you can put, it's like a store where you can put everything, all the information or the materials, the PDF files, the documents, the Word files that you'd like your students to access at any time. So this is very applicable to, say, open universities. So this is very helpful. This is a free app, by the way. And remember when I told you earlier that the best technology is the one that you already know how to use and that's already available to you. Of course, we can also use the familiar ones like Facebook and Messenger. The features that I've mentioned earlier with those three other apps are also present in these two apps that we are very much familiar with. So we can keep in touch with the learners and parents, of course, through Messenger. We can remind the students about any upcoming tests, major assignments, schedules of distribution and retrieval in case of modular learning. And it also allows all information and files to be stored in one place. In case you didn't know, you can actually upload Word files, PDF files, MP4s, or videos um, on Facebook. So, and what I would suggest is that instead of uploading your files in Messenger, you can create instead a Facebook group wherein you can upload all of the documents that your learners need to access any time of the day. So in that way, um, because if you're going to use Messenger as your platform in storing important documents or files, chances are when your students are, well, our students can, be very unruly sometimes. They tend to forget that their teacher is part of the group chat. So they tend to talk about a lot of things that are not necessary or not part of the lesson or any subject. So I suggest that you just create a Facebook group, add your students there, and upload all the information. And you can just turn off um, the posting feature so that the students cannot post anything, and the information or the files just stay where you uploaded it. So there will be no annoying chats or conversations. So that's one tip that I can give you in using Facebook as um, a platform where you can store files and documents. Okay, there. So the second part again is about how we can apply ICT according to activity. And like what I've outlined earlier, the first one is about knowledge building activities. So let's take a look at some of the activities under knowledge building. All right, so the first one is reading text. Of course, almost all subjects, students are required to read text, of course. That's going to be unavoidable. So it's an activity where students extract information from textbooks, historical documents, census data, and the ICT that I would suggest that the teachers can use are digital archive. We have a website. It means the teacher can also create his or her own website where they can upload digital files or textbooks or ebooks. Of course, ebooks and audiobook. So if you have extra budget for your own website, then go ahead and make one. At least you can customize how your website is. How do you like your website to look like? And we also have reading maps, charts, and tables. So these are the usual activities in a social studies classroom. So students extract and or synthesize information from maps, charts, and or tables. So the ICT tools for that are textbook supplement, web-based data sets. We have the CIA World Factbook as an example. So take note of that. Also in viewing images, wherein students examine both still and moving video animations, images, print-based or digital format. And the ICT for that is going to be presentation software, which is, of course, Microsoft PowerPoint, if you have it, and a word processor, video creation software such as Movie Maker, iMovie, and image sharing sites. And Flickr is an example, or I think we're more familiar with Instagram, right? Or Pinterest. All right. And for listening to audio, of course, there are activities wherein students are asked to listen to recordings of speeches, um, music, radio broadcasts, and other lectures, be it digital or non digital. Then they can use or we can apply digital audio archive or podcast. Podcast is available. There are free sites that offer podcasts, and then there are also paid ones. And the more popular ones are on Spotify. Um, only some of us know that there are podcasts in or on Spotify, and it's actually very useful because most or some of our students are already familiar with Spotify and they already have an account there. And of course, audiobook. All right, and of course, debate, wherein students discuss opposing viewpoints, formal or informal, structured and unstructured, synchronous and asynchronous. So the ICT for that is going to be discussion forum, or you can make a blog and let your students comment in the comment section, and a wiki. And for sequencing information, wherein students sequence information, data, or documents in chronological order, so they can use, or you can use as a teacher, a timeline creation software, video creation software such as Movie Maker and iMovie. There for considering evidence, wherein students explore a variety of types of evidences such as historical documents, photographs, data related to a topic or question. They can access these files through a digital archive. So there. And this one, comparing and contrasting. So students interrogate information to understand multiple characteristics, evidence, and or perspectives on a topic. So we can use concept mapping software. We can also use, of course, Microsoft Word. We can use a spreadsheet for that and digital archive. So we have a lot of options when it comes to comparing and contrasting activities. And when we are asking the students to conduct an interview, be it face to face or via a video conference, via email, you can actually use video creation software again, or an audio recorder, or a digital camera, or Viber, Skype, applications like those things. Okay, so for convergent knowledge expression activities, so we have answering questions. So when we are asking students to respond to questions, we can actually use, of course, word processor where they can input their answer. We can use a concept mapping software, a discussion forum, or an SRS or a student response system. This one, when we are asking them to create a timeline, which is very often. So students sequence events on a printed or electronic timeline or through a web page or multimedia presentation. So we can again use a timeline creation software, presentation software, concept mapping software, and word processor, which doesn't use or require internet connectivity. When creating a map, where students label existing maps or produce their own print-based materials or digitally. They can use a scanner or a three-in-one printer, which is readily available in the classroom, or the outline map available online, where you can just print it. Google Earth, which is very useful in presentation software such as PowerPoint, Microsoft PowerPoint. And for activities wherein we ask students to fill in teacher-created charts, tables, we can use word processor, concept mapping software for these activities. There, when we're asking them to engage in some form of question and answer to review content, may it be paper-based or in a game show format using multimedia presentation tools. So you can use again SRS, interactive whiteboard review games such as Jeopardy, or a survey tool. Or you can actually create one using Google Docs. So I think our teachers are very much familiar with answering surveys through or evaluations through Google Docs. And of course, taking a quiz or test. So students demonstrate their knowledge through paper-based traditional format to computer-generated and scored assessments. So these are some of the tools that you can use: Google Docs, Quizlet, and quizzes. Okay. And I guess this is the last part. So we have the divergent knowledge expression activities. So the first one under divergent is writing an essay, wherein we ask students to compose a structured or written response to a prompt, paper and pencil, of course, the traditional, and the ICT tools that we're going to need for those activities. It's going to be Word, concept mapping, software, and we can use Wiki just to track contributions from multiple authors or for, say, comparison purposes. There, for writing a report, we can use a word processor. We have presentation software, web authoring software for that activity. And for generating a narrative, like using primary documents and secondary source information, students develop their own story of the past. So they can, or you can actually apply the use of word processor, collaborative word processor, and blog, which is, of course, very famous and well known with the students. Now, for activities that we are asking them to create a poem, so they can be creative if they're going to use video creation software where they can express their poetry, and of course, presentation software. And of course, creating a diary. The students can actually use a blog or a word processor for such type of activity. All right, so here are some reminders. So I think we've got to the last part of our presentation. All right, so first thing that we have to remember is that we have to plan our lesson well. So we would know which parts of the lesson plan we can apply ICT tools or use ICT tools. So lesson planning is very important. Oops. And then persevere. This is very important. So oops, every classroom is different. Here. So we have to understand that the students and teachers are, of course, unique, and what works for one classroom may not work for you in other classes as well. So do not be discouraged if that happens. If you fail the first time you tried to apply ICT in your instruction, then just continue and look for the one that suits your class well. And another reminder is to apply trial and error, of course, for you to know what works best for your class. And you also have to remember that you are not alone. Remember that there are also some teachers who, who don't know or who are also struggling in using ICT or applying ICT in their instruction. And on the other hand, there are also teachers who are very knowledgeable, who have the skills. So it is very important that you remember that there are teachers who are also willing to help, or not just teachers, but school personnel who are willing to help you when it comes to ICT application in or learning some ICT skills that you can use in your classroom. And of course, what I always say, ICT is only a tool. Again, it should not drive your lesson. It should just support your lesson, enhance your lesson, but not actually be the main driver of your lessons or activities. And of course, you should always have a backup plan. Some of these um, ICT tools and equipment require power or electricity. So we should always have a backup plan in cases of power interruptions, right? So as teachers, we know this. We should always have plans B, C, D, E up to Z, right? Okay, there. So just wait for it to finish. So technology will not replace great teachers, but technology in the hands of great teachers can be transformational. So that's from George Couros. He's a well-known author and innovator. So there, so great teachers empowered with technology can have a transformational effect on the overall development of the students. And we can actually start this journey now to make this into a reality. So that's it for me today or tonight. I hope you all have learned something and will also give ICT a chance in your social studies classroom. So let me just stop sharing there.
Thank you so
So, yep.
much, Sir Paul.
Yes.
That was actually a jam pack of useful and interesting informations about teaching social studies. The
Yep.
knowledge you shared will be useful to all our audience because you share lots of new ideas that is truly relevant in the field of education, specifically with regards to the ICT in social studies classroom and the benefits that we get in understanding the significance and importance of integrating ICT activities to make learning interesting for the learners. You also provided us with variety of choices to provide interactive activities to change the perception of the learners that social studies is a boring subject and full of memorization of events, dates, and names. At least now we have something to share with our learners. No doubt our viewers have benefited from today's webinar through the awareness that we received from the technique you have shared today. What really caught my interest is when you gave the virtual tour in National Museum. That was really interesting, and I hope I could do that. I could share that with my learners in in my subject as I teach them social studies. That was really interesting. Once again, thank you so much, Sir Fol, for your time, for sparing your valuable time and sharing your knowledge to us today. And we'll see you again in the Q&A part of the program.
All right. Yeah.
Okay? Yes. And once again, I would like to remind the audience, don't forget to like, share, comment, tag your friends in the comment box because this encourages us to do better and give our best service. Thank you for your support. We'll give you the e-certificate link in the comment box later. And if you encounter any problem, you can collect your e-certificate direct from our website, that is www.eduigp.com. Then after collecting your e-certificate, don't forget to celebrate with IGP by your check-in. At this moment, we will proceed to our quiz competition. Okay, we could see here some participants now. We have already 43 participants. Okay, you can still join. Guys, we still have few minutes. A minute, you can still join us in our quiz competition. That is at slido.com and our code is IGP quiz in all caps. And now we have 61 participants. Please join our quiz competition. This will be fun. Okay, get ready now. Question number 1. It is the study of social relationship between individual groups of people and people of the world. What is this? Social studies or sociology? Sociology. 72% of the participants answered social studies, and that is correct.
Hindi, bubuksan ko daw yung foil.
Nico, then Miro is leading the board. Okay, question number 2. Information design that uses pictures, symbols, colors, and words to communicate ideas, illustrate information, or express relationship visually. Is it information technology or information visualization? %50 answered information technology and 50% answered information visualization. And the correct answer is information visualization. Half of the participants get the correct answer. Carlo Malabanan is leading the board this time. Question number 3. Online activities in which students explore unique locations around the world and or communicate with learners at those sites. Is it virtual, field trip, or online simulation? The correct answer is virtual field trip, and 80% of the participants answered correctly. Okay, question number 4. Using images and audio to tell the stories of people's lives and events. Virtual historiography or digital storytelling? What is this? Digital storytelling is the correct answer, and 58% of the participants get the correct answer. Desiree Mena is leading the board. Okay, for our question number 5, students use a research-based curriculum as they study real-time adventures. They share learning experiences together as the real-life adventure unfolds. Is it experiential learning or adventure learning?
Oo nga, pero hindi nakita yung chocolate eh. At baba mo ng coke.
It is adventure learning, and only 31% of the participants got the correct answer.
Ma'am, matatapos ka na ba dyan?
Okay, next question. The availability of information on blank has increased several concerns for social studies education. The internet or Google Play Store? The correct answer is the internet, and 94% of the participants got it correctly. Jess Ray is still leading the board. Question number 7 refers to both different types of communications networks and the technologies used in them. Is it ICT or information technology? The correct answer is ICT. 88% of the participants got it correctly. Question number 8. Students can learn to connect historical events with current events. Is it true or false? The correct answer is true, and 100% of the participants got it correctly. That's good. Jessie Ray Millamena is still leading the board. And for our question number 9, can simulated problem solving help a student learn? Yes or no? Ninety-eight percent of the participants answered yes, and that is the correct answer. And for our last question, can a teacher use Google Earth to find population density? Is it true or false? The correct answer is true. And 73% of the participants get it correctly. Congratulations to all our top 10 winners. Okay, here are the top 10 winners for this quiz competition. Number 1 is Jessie Ray Mena. Number 2 is Marian Takadena Danao. Number 3 is Alea Labuen. I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly. Number 4 is Chan Lei Faith Cappadocia. Next, please. Number 5, Nika Den Miro. Number 6 is Romel Hernandez. Number 7 is Sherry Lynn Callejo Yamaguchi. Number is Noemi Bulatao. Number 9 is Rosler Cabansag. And number 10 is Charles Vidal. Kaiser Vidal. Congratulations to our top 10 winners of our quiz competition. And in a few minutes, you will be receiving your quiz completion certificate. Congratulations to all of you. And now we will proceed to our Q&A part of the program after the short video. Once again, let us welcome back our speaker for today's webinar. Welcome back, Sir Paul Martin B. De Vera. Welcome
Hi.
back, sir, to our Q&A part of the program. To the participants, you may send your questions now.
Record nga for 15 seconds now.
Okay, please Just send your questions in the comment box. Okay, we have our first question from Manolita Ramos Oligo. In your opinion, how can ICT remediate and change students' perception on social studies if the teacher themselves still practice rote learning through long lectures, copying, and memorization?
Okay, thank you. That's actually a valid question. And what I would always say is that the ICT tools are only tools. These should not drive your instruction or lessons in your classroom. So the main driver would still be the teacher. And if the teacher doesn't see how beneficial or how the ICT tools can be useful in the classroom, then there's no way that the ICT tools will also going to be beneficial for the students. So it should start from the teacher. The teachers should start to believe that ICT tools can do something, can do amazing things for the classroom. So that's actually one of the, if I'm going to rank all the obstacles when it comes to using ICT or applying ICT in education, I am going to rank the teachers as the number one obstacle. Those who are not open to using ICT or applying ICT in their classroom, because it should start from the teacher, because the teacher is the driver of the lessons.
Okay, thank you so much for that wonderful answer. Shall we have our next question? Okay, our next question is from Noe Borromeo. What is the solution to the internet divide that many students and teachers still experience in the far-flung areas? Is ICT still applicable to those areas, or ICT is not limited in the internet?
Thank you for that question. And what's actually sad about that is that this pandemic has just amplified that digital or internet divide from those who have access to the internet or those who have access to gadgets to those who does to those who don't have access to the internet and don't have access to gadgets. So it's very saddening that this pandemic has just widened the gap between the rich and the poor and those who have and who have less in life. So I would suggest, well, ICT is just a tool. It's one of the ways where we can, motivate and encourage learners to participate and increase student achievement in school. But there are other ways. It's not just, ICT that we can use to, create magic in our classroom. We can also gamify our classrooms, and gamifying our classrooms, it doesn't have or it doesn't require internet connection at all. The concept of gamification is that you are going to incorporate game elements into your classroom. So when we say game elements, there are rules, and then of course, most importantly, there are rewards. So in that way, there's no need to, or there's, or internet, it's not a requirement anymore. All you have to do is, to make it a collaborative effort between you and the community. Maybe you can ask sponsorships or donations for your rewards, because that's actually one way of motivating and encouraging your learners to not just do well in school, not just to be encouraged to participate, but to also develop skills that are essential once they step out of the
Yan pala yung
classroom.
pwede pabalik
So
mo
not
dito.
just ICT,
Pwede
not just
pabalik
gamification, but there are other ways
sa
where we
binder.
can
Pwede
that we
ma-rewind.
can use to increase the student achievement and to create citizens or students that are going to be future leaders or responsible citizens of our country or of the world.
Okay, thank you so much, sir. I think we need to be we as teachers need to be creative in providing activities for our learners that will really their interest.
Correct.
Next is from Marjorie Oliverio. What advice can you give to the teachers who has difficulty in teaching ICT to the students?
Well, what I have discussed earlier is that the best technology is the ones that are already familiar with the teachers, and the teachers already know how to use it. So there's really no need to press yourself or to push yourself to, learn ICT skills if, if it's not needed or necessary in the classroom. But let's also recognize that this pandemic has required all teachers to be somehow um, able to use ICT in their classrooms, or not physical classrooms but virtual classrooms in our case presently. So my advice is that it doesn't have to be knowing how to use a specific app or software, but as teachers, we should always be open-minded. We should be always be welcoming with new techniques, new tools, new ideas, because that's one of the characteristics of a 21st century teacher. We should always be open and welcoming with changes. So yeah, that's my advice. So just keep an open mind, and because we tend to complain first before we try to use a certain app, or if you're whenever we are introduced with new technologies or tools, we tend to close our minds immediately. But for me as a teacher, we should always keep an open mind, and everything else will follow. Everything else will be easier. For me, ICT is not that hard to learn as long as we keep an open mind. And of course, it will also depend on a lot of factors. Like it could also be student related. Like, are they ready to use ICT in the classroom? Of course, it would really depend on a lot of factors. But the first one should come from the teacher. Like I said, the teacher still is the driver of the classroom or the lessons. So it should start from the teacher. So keeping an open mind is very important. That's my first advice.
Thank you, sir. Again, next question, please. Okay, our next question is from Manolita Ramos Oligo again. What are your thoughts about social studies ICT pedagogy integration project?
I think it's been long overdue. It should have started a few years or decades back. So it's about time for us to revolutionize our social studies classroom. We should have started this a long time ago. So these are my thoughts about incorporating ICT in our social studies classroom. It should be we should have done it a long time ago. And well, if since we haven't done it, and it's about time, since we are currently in the pandemic. We have flexible work schedules. Maybe it's about time that we take our extra time to learn, one technology at a time, because right now knowing a specific technology is no longer a skill. you know Before, if you know how to use a computer, it's an advantage, but right now it's already something that's expected from the teachers. So yeah, I suggest that when we have free time, let's try to keep an open mind and try one or learn one technology or software at a time.
That's a very good suggestion, and I wish I could do that. I'm also really I'm thinking to do that. To follow your advice, I'll just have to choose one technology that I wanted to explore, and then proceed to another one once I get used to the first one that I did study. Just go and so that I could learn more about ICT. Do you
Correct.
have more questions?
Yes,
Yes.
remember trial and error. So don't be discouraged if you failed the first time that you used it. it's perfectly fine. So that only means that you can explore other options or other technologies available. So don't be discouraged if you fail the first time.
Yes, very interesting. Next question is from Lisette Ong. The only modality we have is modular in print. How can we still teach learners about the ICT tools to avoid ignorance?
Okay, thank you for that question. It's actually a valid one. And our school, the Agro Industrial School, we're also under this learning delivery modality, which is modular. And what we can do to integrate ICT in our modules is that we can actually put links. We can ask our students to watch a certain video. Say, for example, I teach contemporary issues in grade 10. So our last or learning activity sheets include activities wherein students are asked to view, certain videos on YouTube about social issues. Let's say, for example, waste management, so things like that. We can, slowly apply ICT in, even if, the setting is modular learning delivery modality. So we can start by, putting links. You can ask your students to, you know, um, for an optional or additional resource or, a reference, they can, or an optional activity, you can actually put an activity wherein they can, watch something on YouTube and create a reflection out of it, or get their ideas about the videos they've watched. So you can start by doing that, and then once that you see the effect or the impact of that activity to your students' achievements or the way they behave or the way they answer, their modules, then you can already explore other things. You can already try to, add little by little, or add technologies little by little. So that's my advice. That's what you can do, as a first step.
Yes, sir, that's correct. Actually, once when you do such, sharing them links and only two people's participated or opened that link, that's already
Mhm.
a good start
Correct.
for us teachers. Just go on,
That is
and
true.
who knows, someday more learners will come and open those links that you have shared to them.
Exactly, because believe it or not, there are students who who don't know that these videos or tools exist. Some students are not familiar with YouTube, but once we slowly introduce these things to them, then they'll be more appreciative and they'll be more comfortable. Because studies actually show that when students use ICT in the comforts of their home, chances are they'll be also comfortable in using ICT once that they're already inside the classroom. So everything starts from home, and the modular delivery learning delivery modality is a perfect avenue for us to incorporate ICT, because they can explore how that they can use ICT at home. So in that way, they'll be able to be more confident and comfortable in using that once they're already in school.
Yes, we just need to expose them to those technology and materials. Okay, next question is, what can you say about this? The teacher has knowledge in the use of ICT in his or her teaching, but there's no internet available in the school, especially if the school is located in the remote areas like in the mountain areas. What is the use of technology then?
That's actually one of the obstacles of the ICT, or using ICT in our classroom. Um, the internet connection is not available. If I'm not mistaken, most of our schools here in the Philippines are not yet energized, and that's a big problem when it comes to ICT integration. So what we can do is that we can use the available tools or equipment that we already have in our classroom. It might be old school, but it helps. We can use television, we can use tapes or VCDs. Instead of having them read a textbook, why not, you know, ask them to watch it instead, or download. As a teacher, maybe we can, go to the city, download all the files that we need there, the videos that we need, and then once we go back to the mountains, we can show it to the children. So for me, integrating ICT is a group effort. It's 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 something that we cannot just blame the government alone, we cannot just blame the teachers alone, but it's a group effort, it's a collaborative effort. So for it to become successful, we have to work together. And as a teacher, it has to start from us. So we have to be creative, we have to be resourceful, we have to use the things that's already available, and we try to use it in order for our lessons to make sense for our students. So that's what you can do. Just make use of the materials that's already available. So let's not, push ourselves. We can say that, oh, the students or the teachers in NCR or in Greater Manila area are using this. However, we are stuck in doing this. Let's not do that right now. So let's just appreciate what we have, and later on when things get better, maybe we can start exploring other options for us.
The keyword is creativity and resourcefulness, Sir Jose. I hope you're satisfied with that answer. Thank you, sir, for that another wonderful answer. We have another question from Manolita Ramos Oligo. What is your message to teachers to inspire them to shift from lectures to exploratory type of learning?
So yes, we are already in the 21st century. So my message to teachers who are still traditional, um, the world has changed, and whether we like it or not, we also have to adapt to these changes. And like what I said, learning a new technological skill nowadays is no longer, an advantage, because it's something that is already expected from us. So yeah, that's well, maybe what I can tell you to inspire you to try using ICT is that, um, well, there are studies available. If you are that kind of person who believes in numbers or data, there are studies available. You can actually search the internet that that proves the effectiveness of using ICT or applying ICT in classrooms or in your instruction. So yeah,
Yes.
now is the time. That's the keyword, or those are the keywords. Now is the time.
Agree. Another question from Manolita Ramos Oligo. Sir Ordas, get out of your comfort zone. The situation asks you to reach out by going to your students and group them according to their location. There are so much ways to teach. As teachers, we have lots of strategies to use. Be resourceful. Yes, that's our magic word for the day.
Yes, be
Resourcefulness.
resourceful. Correct. And yeah, remember that ICT is just one of the tools or one of the ways where we can, encourage our learners to participate in our classrooms. So let's not be, just be limited to the use of ICT, because, as there are traditional teachers out there, and I'm sure that other ways to motivate your students, and ICT is just one of the ways. So it's not the only way, but it's one of the ways.
Yes, that is correct. Do have okay. I think that concludes our Q&A part of the program. To all our participants who actively participated in our Q&A part, thank you so much for all your questions. And to our speaker for today, thank you for your marvelous responses and comprehensive answers to the queries of our dear audience. I am sure that all of them are satisfied with the answers that you have given them. Thank you so much, sir Paul. And we hope to see you again here in IGP. Okay?
Yes, I hope to see you all again soon, very, very soon. And thank you also, Ma'am Maria Beth.
Yes, thank you again, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, to all the our audience, I would like to remind all of you, don't forget to like, share, and also comment. And please spread the information about IGP to your friends. Okay, that concludes our program for today. To my fellow knowledge seekers, I would like to thank all of you for attending today's session. Hopefully, you have learned something new today that will be useful in your life. If you learned something or we have been helpful to you, even just for a little bit, please leave a review on our page. And also, don't forget to like and subscribe to our Facebook page, Facebook group, and YouTube channel. Don't forget to collect your e-certificate and give a check-in with IGP. Please spread the information about IGP to your friends. We hope to see you all again in our next webinars. Thank you so much. Stay happy and stay safe. Again, this has been your host for today. I am Marbeth from the Philippines saying God bless you all. Bye everyone. Good night. Okay, for our code, we have IGP 5654. And today's program name is ICT in Social Studies. The date today is November 29. Please take a screenshot. Let me do that also. Okay, take a screenshot of our code for today, that is IGP 5654. Okay, please take note, it's IGP 5654. Without a code, no one is eligible for certificate. With code, you can claim your certificate anytime. Without an account on our website, you can visit, but you cannot do anything functionally. Okay, I think we're done now. Thank you so much, everyone. Stay safe and stay happy. Bye.